Why do billionaires who make so much money, majority of them don't pay any taxes?
I've done my job when Congress has to change the law to deal with what we did.
What's the policy that I have that like when I'm 65, I'm getting paid like $1 million a month until I die? So instead of giving to the government, I save the taxes and then it pays me for the next 26 years.
The wealthy love to look into getting citizenship, and there's a whole market out there for citizenship by investment. And there's a number of different countries around the world that offer these types of products.
The last question I ask you is give us your best like ninja strategy. Like this is your best strategy. There's people that protect my fugu, and what I do when it comes down to money, you pay for what you get. And I think a part of you have accountants or asset protection people that are in essence donkeys. And what do I mean by donkeys is they know what they know, okay? So that's what they know. And then your income rises, right? And as your income rises, their knowledge base doesn't rise. They're not, and so what I have found is like, who do billionaires use? Right? Like who? Because they don't pay any taxes. Like Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes. A lot of people pay. Trump didn't pay any taxes. Like that's why he never released his tax things, because if you don't pay taxes and you're a billionaire, it doesn't look good, right? And neither would you if you weren't paying taxes. You're like, I don't want to release them, right? Common sense. They're like, because it's probably not paying taxes, duh, legally, by the way. And so I said, who are the people that deals with all this? Because what I realize is whether you make $1 billion a year or $100,000 a year, it doesn't matter. The strategies are the same. And also sometimes the mistake that people make is once you make money, then you go get the help and then you're screwed. There's nothing, you can't unwind the clock. You're like, it is what it is, but going forth. So my team always seeks out who is the best. And two of the best people in the country are here. They're the protector of my fugu, and we'll talk about things that, to be honest with you, they start talking about it, and I just usually say, just get it done. It's usually what I usually say. Like, I don't hear, so this will be the first time I'm actually hearing what they're doing for me. You know what I mean? So two birds with one stone. Because we'll get on a Zoom and like, oh, we're thinking about this solar. I'm like, great, like it, next. And she goes, don't you want to know about it? I mean, he was like, well, you're going to save this amount of taxes. Okay, that's all I need to know. I don't care, just do it. And then you have to sign a DocuSign and then press the button. Oh, so much work I have to do in order to not do that. So they are the very best. They are the best of the best of the best. And they came here because one, somewhere where you're going to end up, and some of you who may not be protected. And they also have a network of some of the most successful people in the world. And they came to me as a favor this morning. So please welcome Liz and Jonathan to the stage. You could tell we've never met in person, right? It was the first time we met, correct? In person,
Yep.
First time we met.
Correct.
He goes like this, and I'm like this, and he's like, that's usually the first time. Okay, so Liz, so to put a little bit of fun into this, so you have this tax strategy that you want to do that one of your clients is doing. And it's going to save me 70% in tax off this one strategy and pay out for 10 years. We'll talk about that more in detail. So this is a very classic JT Foxx move, right? So I get on the Zoom, right? I'm ready every 15 minutes of my time. I'm always on time. I'm never late. I got the schedule. So are you. We talk about being early. And the guy comes up. He's about 4 minutes late. And he comes up and he's in the car, okay? And he goes, yeah, I'm on my phone to the private airport to get my private jet. I'm going out of town, but I get on the phone. I'm just sitting there like I'm just and I'm just seething. And then when he's talking, it's like, I think solar, but, and then, by the way, it's infuriating me. Like, I am so pissed. And the call before wasn't a good call. So I am just like, first of all, you're in your car. And he goes, you want to do business with me. I'm a high net worth person. You want my money. And he goes, I'm in there with my family in the private terminal. And I don't give a fucking shit if you're going to the SpaceX, the moon. You want my money. Yeah. And Liz is like, okay. She's like, okay. And then he goes, and I'm going at it, and we're peacocking. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And she's like, well, maybe this is not the right time. Maybe this is not a good fit. So immediately, I'm thinking, fuck, I'm gonna save $700,000 in taxes, maybe. And he's thinking, shit, I got well, you know, I forgive you. And he goes, no, I forgive you. And I'm like, oh. So then, you know, we kind of reset. So Liz, tell us about that experience from your perspective.
Well, you pretty much nailed it with the peacock kind of thing. You guys really went at it, and I think we lost our focus at the time, because the focus was really how to deal with different strategies, and all of a sudden I was completely caught off guard. So when that happened, I said, maybe this just isn't the right fit personality-wise. Product-wise, yeah, but personality. So it was a tough, tough 10
Did you
minutes.
think I was the asshole in this situation, or did you thought your
Oh,
client
of course
was
not
the
you.
asshole?
It was definitely him, 100% him.
As you can see, the customer is always right.
Yep.
So let's take a step back here. So briefly, I'm have both introduce you. So Jonathan, introduce yourself and what is your area of expertise, other than making sure that the Fagoo stays to me as close as possible?
Jonathan Gottman. I want to make sure you keep your Fagoo. It's very important.
Which he didn't know what it was, because we never talked long enough on a phone conversation to do that. And you know, there was a cookie out there and it said Fagoo, right? And he goes, what is Fagoo? And let me tell you, you know what I mean, what Fagoo is. So we had a good talk about what Fagoo is, which he probably thought I was crazy, but he's like, whatever, the customer is always right.
Hey, Fagoo. Yeah, I'm an attorney with Nelson Mullins, a national law firm. I've practiced tax law for the last 35 years or so. And I head our wealth planning practice at the firm.
So your area, and Liz, what is your official title of what you do?
Well, I founded a company called Private Life Solutions. I actually started on Wall Street at 18. I was a little young. And I'm a numbers person. So my whole initial initiation into the world of money was at Wall Street at a very young age. And I saw a lot of successful people start with nothing, work their way up, but without the planning, you know, it's hard to keep your life and legacy assets going without proper planning. So I kind of twisted a little bit into how do you protect your wealth. So I'm on the wealth protection side, and I deal with as many strategies as I can. I'm always open to new strategies, but Jonathan builds the structure, and then I fill it with what we kind of believe are those structures that work within life plans.
I'm going to ask you two categories of people. Let's start with, many of us here have a lot of money. Let's start with the people that have a lot of money. What's the biggest mistake that money does in concerns to what you do that you have to go fix? And sometimes it can't be fixed. You can't unwind the clock. What is the biggest mistake that you see people do?
Said, we made $10 million this year, and you know, we want to plan now. I said, well, if you would have called us before you made $10 million, it would have been a lot easier. That doesn't mean that there's not anything you can do. We always have solutions, but they just become a little bit more problematic. Who in this room likes paying tax? Just show of hands. Okay, just wanted to check.
Good. Thank God.
Yeah. Do people actually put their hand up?
Yeah.
The ones who don't pay taxes, they're like,
You know what? I have to say, I had one.
what, one?
Yeah.
Democrat?
In I don't know how many years, but one. It was a very strange conversation.
I like paying taxes. It means I'm doing well. Yeah. I like to do well and not pay taxes.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you see the people with money, the biggest mistake they make?
I think the biggest mistake that people have is the one that comes to mind the most is illiquidity. You know, at some point we all need liquidity, whether it's for ourselves or for our family. This one client did very well, well over $2 billion of property in New York City alone. But the issue is what happens in the planning for the next generation if you're illiquid. I think that's a big concern. Took a little while to work with professionals to kind of set the right structure and figure out the right liquidity. But I think people do forget that there is some points in time where it's not going to be as cash flush, and you need to kind of plan for all situations. And Jonathan's structures and mine blended.
So both of you are from different firms, right? But you kind of work together. I just like to say, why can't you do what she does, and then why can't you do what he does, right? It's a
licensed.
It just sounds like double billing to me.
Not
Not
really.
even close. Not even close.
We need licensed financial. It's very interesting. We're able to design all sorts of products, but I can't sell them. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I'm not a licensed insurance specialist. So you have to work with someone who's very good and very, very knowledgeable on that side of the
Give
equation.
us an example, right, of let's start at the high level, and then we'll bring it down to all level. But so someone comes to you, this is what you do. How do you fit into the equation? How does the tag team work?
Well, oftentimes we'll have a client with a business worth $200, $300, $400 million and a significant amount of cash flow, operating income from that business. So three problems there. One, you're generating a significant amount of income during the year. You'd like to, all things being equal, lower your income tax liability on that operating income. So that's very important. Two, at a certain point, you may want to sell that business and you're going to have a capital event. And we want to deal with that gain as well. And then three, and those oftentimes involve insurance products, addressing those gains, making sure you pay as little tax or no tax as possible. And then third, passing that wealth on to the next generations of your family. So, and that's two areas of tax that are very different. The transfer taxes, or the estate, gift, and generation skipping tax, 3 levels of tax there, and the income tax.
Yes?
So to take that one step further, he's building the outside financial structure itself, right? The actual plan itself. But inside, there's a lot of different mechanisms that we use that actually build what's needed for the family. So I'm on the side where he's creating how to design and flow the funds, and I'm providing the products that actually are inside. So whether it may be you've got a company today that's worth 10 million and you think you're going to sell it for 100 million. How do we capture that 90 million growth in the most tax efficient way? So that's where I come in. I'm on the strategy of how do we mitigate those taxes inside. So we do tag, he builds it. So my licenses are more the securities licenses, right? And the insurance licenses and whatever else the license I need. And I kind of build into what he sees as the broad vision. I just provide all the little chassis inside.
I don't think I've ever heard, what would you call yourself? Like people say, I'm looking for what? Like, what are you? Obviously he's a tax attorney. So
I do tax mitigation and tax elimination.
Okay, so basically you created your own term. It's not like someone like Google's tax elimination, because you might pop up.
I have to say, yeah. Well, what happened was I was actually brought into a meeting one day. A friend of mine had a chemo treatment. Said, can you go to this meeting? And I had this is going back 25, no idea what I was doing. And all of a sudden there was people there from very large families that said, well, we've heard of these strategies. And I was smart enough to bring somebody into the room who knew some of the strategies, and I put it together in a way that made sense. So it's kind of building constant tax mitigation strategies is what I do.
So you're basically the engine, and you're basically putting the type of fuel that needs to go to the engine.
Absolutely.
And together we solve problems, we come up with new products. We're so well connected, the insurance companies that we deal with, and we carry so much weight that they'll build products for us. So we can customize for everyone.
So I'm gonna take a step back. So you're a tax attorney, there's plenty of tax attorneys. A lot of people, whatever they learned in school, it's very similar with a lot of doctors, right? Not everyone's as great as Dr. Dalal. We're always taking a look at what's the newest and latest. It's that old school. People too, whatever they went to school and they studied. That's the average accountant, right? And what they do is they're filing returns. They don't, and I think a lot of you have people that are not maximizing the income, the structures. What is it that you do yourself that you say, I'm different than the other tax attorneys? Why? Whether it's the research, or how do you know there's so much, the tax code, the strategies, the loopholes are good one year, but not good the next year, right? So what do you do?
You go to law school, you go to accounting school, you start work, and the first thing you learn is the word no. It's so easy to tell a client no. And I was told, never do that. Find a way. Say, yes, we can do it. We're going to find a way to do it. We'll figure it out, but don't tell them no.
Let me try this. Can you reduce your fee?
No.
Still a lawyer. He's like, funny guy. Discount. So what do you do to look at all that? Because it changes all the time.
It depends on the person and what we're trying to
No,
accomplish.
you. Like, no, in general, like, how do you keep up to date with all the changing? Are you like asking people?
We're making the changes. We're creating the
You're
products
creating
now.
the changes.
We're on that cutting edge. You know,
So you'll go to the people and say, this is good shit. I didn't even know you did all this.
Yeah.
Charlie just said, this is my Charlie guy's like, okay, talk to them. I'm like, okay. And this is really what, I mean,
I've done my job when Congress has to change the law to deal with what we did.
I like it. This is, yeah. You're kind of a left brain awkward dude, but I like my money to be left brain. You know what I mean? I want my right money to go like, you know, I like that. Same thing with you. What do you do? Because now you're finding the investment vehicle to match. So the structure may be there, but finding the actual vehicle to do that is.
I'd have to say, I have to agree, finding is one thing, but I also have developed 7 different products that are with different, what I'll say is different insurance carriers across the country. I have product number 1 with 7 different products. That means when he brings me something, I'm not necessarily looking at what they have. I'm looking at the pieces and trying to build what we need. It's important to understand that each individual need is going to be very, very different, right? So when we have these conversations, it has no real relevance to the conversation of the client yesterday, but there's pieces that have relevance. So I'm actually building the chassis, inside the chassis itself, what's needed. So my area is just finding those little pieces with different parties, blending them all together and saying, well, this is new, but it's really not new. It's just tested strategies that are being brought together. So with respect to that, we're pretty much tagging.
Why is it, and I'm going to go into, like, you gave me 15 things to talk about, which I never have ever, like, done that in the history of any interviews, but there's 15 things I didn't know anything with. Apparently, we're doing all these 15 things. I'm just going to find out what we do. All I want, even the DocuSign is kind of annoying because I got to double click. I just rather just press one button. But this is apparently everything we're doing. And I'm like, damn, I had no idea. So this is very interesting. Why do billionaires who make so much money, a majority of them don't pay any taxes, right? Legally, not a bad thing. What is it that the people are like, oh my God, like that is done if you were to explain why they don't?
It's different for everyone. You can dissect it. People like Warren Buffett, you know, they have their 75, 80 tax cases where they've had tax controversy building up to that. Warren does all of his investing now through Berkshire Hathaway. So things happen in Berkshire, and Berkshire pays tax or some tax, but he really gets his growth and his value of his assets through through the growth and value on the market of Berkshire Hathaway stock. So he's not paying tax on that. There are ways now that he can, he can borrow against those assets, and there's been some talk about potentially changing that rule so you can't necessarily borrow or borrow to a certain extent against those assets. People like Mr. Trump, heavily in real estate and depreciation and things like that, or using the strategies that...
or the writing off losses from the casino, even though technically he didn't lose the money.
Writing off losses, yeah.
Right, and for 18 years, it's a carryover loss, which people got upset, but that's just normal. Do you have an opinion on that, Liz?
Well, what I see is mostly people that aren't paying taxes are actually allocating money to different ways, right? There's family foundations, there's a lot of philanthropy. So while they may not be paying taxes, they are giving. It's just in a different, more directed way. So I think we see a lot of that in terms of directed giving versus giving to Uncle Sam. It's just...
Before I go over what we're doing for me and all the things that you guys are doing for me, are a lot of people like me where they just don't really want to listen to your whole story and just kind of do? Is this normal, or do people actually listen and ask questions, or like whatever?
We're exciting people, so people like us. They like to talk to us.
It's like watching paint dry. It's exciting.
Yeah. But what we're trying to do. How many people have used lawyers and accountants?
Yeah. How many people woke up this morning?
Yeah. How many of you like paying your bill? when you get it, or you argue with it. Okay. What we want to do is make you very happy to pay your bill. Because when you pay my bill, you're making an investment, and I'm giving you, and Liz is giving you a significant return on your investment. How many lawyers have done that for you?
Little dramatic. Yeah. You probably were happy when you said that. And it was like,
eerie music.
How many people will drink something today? See? Drinking is important. Hiring me is important. Same thing. Good analogy. We got to work on that. We got to work on that. But that's not your job. But you didn't answer my question. Do most people like me will actually, like you'll say, because I'm about to learn all the things you guys do for me, and I'm shocked. So I was like, I had no idea. But do most people like go and ask all the question, what's it about, what it is, like a lot more question? Or they're more like me, like, you yada, 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 get it done?
It really depends.
No, the majority.
Most people are interested.
Are interested?
They're really focused.
They're interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, they're interested in what we're doing. It's exciting. They know they know
They
what they're saying.
tend to be more left-brainer, right? The analytic like you, we're like.
What they're really focused on is, here's the spreadsheet. Here's how much tax you're saving.
Yeah, but that's just like you just tell me my number. Like, JT, we're going to save like $8 million by doing this. Okay, great. But I don't really care how you do it because.
Well, you care because you don't want the IRS or Treasury showing up at your door one day putting handcuffs on.
No, I just was to blame you because I didn't know shit. Plausible deniability. I didn't know nothing. It was all him. Plausible deniability, brother.
Ignorance of the law.
Right? Yes. So, what about you, Liz? Do most people want to know the detail, or?
I'd have to say you're more the norm in my world because they've gotten to the point where they're in bullet points and give me the bottom line. But I do have requirements to keep them on the phone and understand them. So whether they want to be there or not, they're educated. In some of the structures, they have to sign what's called a big boy letter saying they understand what they're actually doing, right? So I'm covering myself saying you're not just there saying, oh, yes, yes, yes. No, you're there saying yes, yes, yes. So it won't work with me. Plausible deniability won't work.
Well, now that you know my secret, I'm kind of screwed. All right, let me go to see what some of the questions that you guys do for me here. Let me just see here. Okay. God, the list is long. All right. No idea what this is, but it's like a game show. You know what I mean?
Spin the wheel.
Yes. What's a PPLI, and why do I use it, and why should other people use it?
Private placement life insurance.
Damn, that's what it stands for.
Yeah, and there's a thing called private placement variable annuity contracts as well. Life insurance is a great tool. All of you hate it because you think, okay, someone's bothering me and I have to do this and I don't want to die, but if I die, I want to leave my family with enough money to live off of. We use life insurance as a tax planning tool because it's the wrapper. Everything that happens, remember the saying, everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Everything that happens inside a life insurance policy happens, if you do it the right way, tax-free. No tax. And by the way, if you make $1 billion inside that policy, there are ways to take that $1 billion out, or a good portion of it, and go out and buy the Ferrari, buy the house in the south of France or wherever you want, and utilize that wealth and never pay tax on it again. And Liz is the one who provides the product.
Yeah, so there's about 7 or 8 different structures depending on where you are in the life cycle of your business.
All right, next question.
I agree.
All right, we're doing it. Next. Sorry, this is how our meeting would go. I was like, sounds great.
That is true.
Do it. I'm not going to pay taxes.
True.
We're going to put the trade school in there and all the big acquisitions up there. There was a trade school conversation because I have a lot of huge exits that are coming out. And
everything you've heard about life insurance changes in this world. When you go to sell your business, we could use this product to make sure you don't pay tax legally. Again, Liz talked about the wrapper and making sure that some of that gain or all of that gain goes into the policy. We can make it happen.
Back to your 7, 8 different structures in about 4 seconds. How would you describe those?
Tax elimination and
So
transfer of
give us
taxes.
maybe a little bit deeper so that the left brainers here, they're just foaming at the mouth.
I would say, yeah, right.
The left brainers are like, by the way, this is them all weekend. All of a sudden, they're like, right?
I would say that the range is, if you're investing in a portfolio, you can have your portfolio inside a life insurance policy and grow and distribute tax-free, right? So that would be the beginning stage. If you have businesses, then we work with the business strategies to grow and distribute tax-free. So depending on where you are in the cycle, depends on which structure we kind of pull together and use.
What's the policy that I have though? Like when I'm 65, I'm getting paid like $1 million a month until I die. That policy, what is that?
That's an annuity.
It's an annuity? Yeah.
Or it's a pre-funded life. I don't know which one you have.
I may have been.
You may have pre-funded a life.
Yeah,
It was before me.
Pardon me?
It was before me.
That was before me. Whatever it is, it's when I'm 65, pays $1 million a year until I die. So, now, could I be on life support and still get? It is.
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever you want.
Hey, Gabe, if I die, inside joke, everybody else. Gabe texted me like, really? Two calls? He goes, there's no renewal for you. I got a new conflict guy to help with my anger issues. Who would have known this is actually funny? I thought I was going to go back to sleep. Okay, now let's talk. We'll start with Liz. 2 or 3 planning ideas that people don't know about, you know, which could be like strategies to, like, and planning strategies that people should do and why should they do it, that maybe they're not doing it. Something they should go back and they go back to their people and saying, are you doing this, this, and this? And then they get the Scooby-Doos, you know what I mean? And then they end up calling you to do with the incompetencies of others. So or Jonathan, you want to start off? And because he wrote these questions.
I'm just
like,
jumping
for example, like here's what
in.
he asked me. I didn't do this, but the first one was like, who are you and what do you do? How do you do it? Are you good at it?
It's very
like,
organized.
Like I'm some kind of moron that's never done this before.
Very good at it. You are too. Hey.
Listen, as long as I don't pay taxes, man, I'd pound you all day long.
We love, you remember?
Nah.
Hey.
By the way, so Liz and I got on a Zoom and we're waiting for Jonathan, and every time his camera's off, right? Every time for some reason. It's like, oh yeah, no, I'm at home today, I'm not dressed up. And I'm like, or he'll be like, yeah, I just got back to the gym. And I'm like, what are you, like a woman or something? You know what I mean? Like he's not gonna be on Zoom, he doesn't wanna look good? Dude, nothing you can do is gonna change that, bro. So
that's what everyone tells me.
Listen, but why we laugh? If Liz said, hey, listen, I just, whatever, I get it, but, you know what I mean? Like,
He is who he is.
yeah, we're not dealing with Fabio over here, you know what I mean? But go ahead, start it off.
We love private placement life insurance. There's a particular product we have that's extremely unique that literally allows you to wrap hundreds, if not billions of dollars of cash value in that product. There's nothing else like it out there. So we love using that as a base. Looking at your operating income for your business, we can do a lot there. We love a product called Enterprise Risk Insurance. Many of you have heard of captive insurance. Captives have a ton of issues involved, but we created this product that has a cash value. It's sold by a commercial insurance carrier. You're not subject to all the restrictions that you have with captives, so we can have clients that have $2 million premiums or $100,000 premiums. We can have clients that have $20 million premiums if it makes sense and if you can build a policy there.
What he's basically saying here, and this is what we did. We first did the captive part, and then what happened is, what the idea was, I would be able to, at the end of the year, instead of paying taxes, put it into my insurance. Half of it had to be like in things that are very illiquid, like had to be like liquidated, more like stocks or things like that, or things I could pull out immediately. The other one would be where I would be able to invest my money in other investments and not pay any taxes, because the insurance, just a lot of insurance companies, when they invest, they don't pay taxes. What happened is, one of the companies doing it sort of got audited, and then they went like to everybody, then got an audit notice, and Charlie said at that time, listen, just settle for 10 cents on a dollar right now, because they are going to try to go to the tax laws to try to do this. And so I was like, he says, go on, be the first to offer a settlement, because if they win, it's full price plus 20%, right? So 20% interest for what you have been. Or at the worst case, you're gonna have to settle for 60, 70 cents on a dollar. So we settled, I think, a road check for about $1 million, which really sucked. But they end up winning in court. And then everybody who's just got screwed all the way down the line. But then there was another way of doing it, which was, done differently and structured differently, because this what they did is it wasn't clear black and white on captive. There was an aspect of it that basically survived. So people took the one thing that survived and then created something else, and then we got into that as well. But for like the longest time, one of the reasons, and it had a lot of foreign income too, so that you didn't pay taxes at all on anything for a very long time. And then, but the problem when the IRS comes sniffing, and because people were using it the wrong way. Because the idea is by having my own captive insurance, this I was told. This is the only thing I've ever listened to, so that's why I can speak from experience.
Maybe you should have given up listening.
This is where I had less money. Yeah. But I basically saying, because we could self-insure a lot of things that I do, because I started looking how much money I'm paying in insurance and all the things I'm doing, umbrella policies, this and that. I'm spending about $700,000 in insurance, right? Now, there's some things you want to insure, so we'd have a policy of Lloyd's on top of that would insure the captive. So it was, and I'm just giving you an example. Like, I never would have known this, but, probably saved me tens of millions of dollars in taxes by doing that until they shut it down. And then people like this go, okay, this is the next thing, the next loophole. And, even if it, it gets audited and stuff like that, it's a gray area. A gray area is still legal. You know what I mean? And maybe, and if it's black or white, then it's wrong. But if it's gray, this is where the risk you have to take. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say this is great. This is a very good product. It's very unique, and it's using an insurance company's platform in a very unique way. This is, again, a product that we're able to design and mold and use in wealth planning for active businesses. We'll get you a deduction going in. We'll get you virtually tax-free build-up on what's inside, and what's inside is pretty flexible as well.
This could be people who just make $100,000 a year, right?
No. This, you really in this situation, $2-3 million is the starting price.
Okay.
But
check.
We'll get you. Actually, we'll get you the deduction going in, tax-free buildup, and if you use Liz's product, PPLI, we can get you zero tax going out. Does everyone like that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Whatever he said.
Yeah.
What's enterprise risk insurance?
That's what we
that's
exactly what we just talked about.
So you asked me to ask you a question that the next question was that
question. You got it.
So you made a mistake.
I did.
Okay, just say. All right, let's talk about something I briefly mentioned. By the way, just say the problem with a lot of these strategies, they're what's called December strategies, right? It's like, shit, I'm about to pay a shitload of taxes. And then that is why, like, Christmas and New Year's is usually not a vacation for us, because we are trying to get the tax bases down. Like, for example, Andrew, in your case, you're putting all your money into equipment to try to bring it down, right? Andrew makes millions and millions of dollars. We're partnering with him and doing a roll-up with his company, right, with Adam Coffee. And what we're going to set up is something similar to this for the exit. He lives in California, so he's like triple screwed.
We love people who live in California. We love people who live in New York, because you are paying more tax than you've ever dreamed to pay.
Right, but at least our position, myself, Francie, and Adam, and whoever, like, we are going to have a vehicle for the exit. But there's a way for you, right? Because the problem is at the end of the year, let's say he makes about, let's say, $2-3 million a year, 1.5 million. He takes all that money, and then he just buys the equipment to bring the cost basis down, right? To get the depreciation. But then you have all this equipment, which sometimes you may or may not need, and there's other strategies he would be able to do with that type of money that would not involve him just keep buying all this.
Enterprise risk is a perfect example.
So that, like, and here's the thing too. The reason you don't know this, because whoever you hire is a donkey. Is a nice guy, but he's a donkey, right? And that's the point. Is we don't know. Right? We don't know, because we're doing research on our own business. Like, we are here to grow our business. We expect people who do what they do to be going to places and they're not. And, and also too, a lot of people don't want to feel like if I bring somebody like them as part of our team, they feel like they're going to lose the customer, right? There is that fear mentality, or like, oh, they're not going to hire me, or I'm going to have less billable hours, right? Did you see that there's a jealousy factor sometimes on other people?
Yeah.
Right? Insecure?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk about commercial solar. Which one wants to go first?
Commercial solar is a great product.
This is brand new. I have to sign and wire the money on Monday. And she said during this whole event, she's like, can you sign the documents?
Just get it done, right? Just go to the computer. DocuSign.
That's all you need to do.
It's okay. We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
How
By
many
the
of
way,
you like green?
when you're in trial, do I call you and say, hey, I need to sign in the middle of a trial?
I will
Charlie.
never step foot in a court in my life unless I murder my girlfriend. So,
Okay.
The only good thing about what you just said, right, is it absolves me from the pounding. Only word that was good. The rest is.
How many people like green? Going green, saving the world. Okay, that's what commercial solar does. And believe it
I
or
felt
not,
like that was a trick question.
Yeah, I know.
Like you have a lot of like no shit Sherlock.
Yeah.
Like, how many people here love air?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's free, right? You like it, don't you? Like you're like the no shit Sherlock speaker.
This is something that's almost free. You know, our job is to put more money back into your pocket again, and this is statutory, so we love this. It is you get what you go into as long as you follow all of the all of the requirements, and we make sure that happens. So you find a commercial solar investment. These things typically, you always want a great counterparty, so make sure you have a great counterparty, whether it's a homeowners association in a Pulte community because you have light poles that have the solar panels on top of them, you're going to get paid, whether it's the University of California at Los Angeles and the solar panels on top of a building. So the counterparty is very important. Your annual return will be somewhere between 4, depending on how much you've put in, 4 to 7%, 8%.
On your net amount at risk, though,
Well,
once
but
you
you're
get your
forgetting
deductions,
it's 4 to
14.
8% a year return, but you're forgetting it's not about the 4 to 8%.
No, it's about the
So
bonus
no, it's-
depreciation and the tax credit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
first of all,
this
tell
is
me how
about
much
the
I'm
tax
saving in
credit.
tax, because you gave it to me with 4 to 8%. I'm like, go pound somewhere else.
Let's just say, okay, there are 40 and 50% tax credit deals. So you put $1 million in, okay? You get a 50. Let's say you're in a 50% deal. You get a 50% tax credit. So that's $500,000 that you would have written a check to Uncle Sam for. Instead, you get to keep an asset on your balance sheet. Okay. The remaining $1 million you get bonus depreciation on 80% this year. We're hoping that's going to go back up to 100. So your full out of pocket for that investment is maybe a couple of $100,000 at most. That's also going to give you, okay, an annual return, again, between 4 to 8%, so that's a coupon your tax.
But it's 4 to 8% of the original investment
Yeah,
before.
yeah.
So it would be 4 to 8% of the
With the
million.
tax.
So if you take it down to your net amount at risk, it's between 12 and 14% on average.
And then not only
And you don't actually have to find the projects. I don't want you to seem like you're going knocking on doors. There are pools of projects. The issue is you can only take the depreciation and the ITC credits in the year of turn on, which is why right now it's a massive, I don't want to say rush, but a massive panic for me to be docu-signing people to sign because they need the credit for this year, right? It's not
Hold on,
something.
but if I do it next week, is it too late?
No,
it's still
you're fine.
2023.
All
But
right, so
it-
you're
can
just
do it
busting my balls for nothing.
of course, 100%. I'll agree with you.
Yeah, I mean,
By the way, you can actually, that's a good point though, you can actually take the tax credit this year if you don't use it all up and apply it towards last year's income.
Or next year, for 22 years going forward.
wow.
You can
But a lot of people roll this over though and just keep continuing to invest in solar.
And it gives you a return every year, 4 to 8%.
Yeah. And
For how long?
Contractually for
26
normally-
years.
yeah.
26 years.
And it's contractual.
So instead of giving it to the government, right, I save the taxes and then it pays me for the next 26 years.
Yeah, it's a
God damn it.
reallocation of the dollar.
Let's
really.
pound on that shit.
It's just reallocation.
Fretzy, sign the DocuSign!
That's right, that's right. I'll get it done.
I like that. You should have told me
But
about
if you
that.
structure it the right way, you can also use it to offset your operating
What's the
income.
lowest that people could go in on that?
250,000
250,000. Okay, that's pretty good.
or 150.
I can get it down to 155,
So if you're going to pay $150,000 to Uncle Sam, right? Then obviously this is something you should take a look at. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, we got some more shit about what I'm doing. Tell us about charitable partnerships and related structures.
A lot of great structures right now. We actually have one. I'm not free to talk about it so to say, but we.
Well, then why'd you write the question?
Teaser.
It's sort of like the
Your
ultra.
Honor, please compel the witness to answer.
You have a structure called a charitable partnership. The problem with a charitable partnership is you cannot operate a business inside of that partnership. You can only do passive investing. We now have a way that we use a nonprofit organization where you can operate a business inside of it. This creates a lot of opportunities for clients, and they love this particular technique. Again, if anyone wants to sign an NDA, I'm happy to tell you more about it. Charitable planning presents some great opportunities. There's split interest trusts.
All right, I got it. We got it.
I'm going to jump back one stage on that.
He's already doing it for me.
I'm going to whittle
Oh, you're allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about something totally
I cannot
different.
speak. How many people here want to hear about a strategy I can't speak about right
I'm
now?
going to take it one step back to reality. We all have a passion. We all have what it may be as a charity, whether it be, your local synagogue, church, whatever it may be, or you may donate to a cancer. There's ways to do it at all different levels of your income, but there's ways to do it in a more impactful way. So you can leverage your dollars in different ways to have a more charitable result. So just keep that in mind. It doesn't matter where you are in the stage, that if you have a charitable inclination, there are ways to leverage every dollar that you put in to have a bigger result for your charity.
Okay. So this one is interesting because oil and gas investments, a lot of people have been burnt by that. If you ask the majority of people, they overpromise. They think it's going to be the best thing, and the scam was really like, I have oil pumping here, and all of a sudden it just kind of moves to the other well. So the majority of high net worth people that I've spoken to have got burnt on that, or they were already overpromised, and then when it doesn't work out, it's like, oops, price went down. Like, it's never their fault and stuff like that. So talk about that. Why if that's a good structure or not?
Due diligence, it can be a very good structure or it can be a very bad structure. You're absolutely right. Due diligence is extremely important. I have a client in Naples that was born in Texas, got his petroleum engineering degree from Texas Tech, spent his whole career as a lawyer and doing oil and gas deals. He told me one thing. He said, Jonathan, once you see an oil and gas deal in Naples, it is bad. And that's the only reason why it's in Naples. They never leave Texas, the good stuff. So you got to do your due diligence, and you got to find deals that are there, funds that stay there, operators that know what they're doing, and that's the way you invest. And there are some very good deals out there. The write-off is terrific. Again, it's an area where you're absolutely right. You have to be extremely careful.
Richard, do you know what your write-off is? No, you don't. That's Richard. No, Richard?
No.
Richard, you did, and then Richard.
Yeah.
Richard.
Dick.
We'll talk. Pardon me? All right, conservation easements. I have no idea what the fuck that is. I know I'm doing it, but I just don't know. I know.
Yeah, we actually tell people to stay away from conservation easements because they've gotten.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, you have a property out in the middle of Tennessee, a farmland, and you decide, okay, we're going to make sure that we're going to put a negative easement on this property. You can't develop. You can't put office space. You can't develop it into a commercial area. This is always going to be reserved for a nature preserve. The problem was if you just valued that, you had a reasonable valuation, all would be good. That's statutory and it should be acceptable to the Internal Revenue Service and Treasury. Unfortunately, you'd have people that would buy land for $1 million and then they'd go out and they'd syndicate their easements and they'd say that the easement was worth $30 million. And then they'd sell that. People would invest and they put in $50,000 and then they do the charitable easement and a conservation easement, and they'd say, okay, you get a deduction of $1 million on your $50,000. That sort of thing was extremely abusive.
It does work well if it's a single individual with a single purpose to a single land trust, right? It's when it got a little bit over-marketed to be more a syndication where everybody gets a piece of something. Individuals doing it, I don't hear as much noise on, but I do hear a lot of noise on the buying a piece of the syndication. That's a little bit rough right now. Individually, it's going fine.
So this is one of the things that I'm doing, and obviously you're a big proponent of it. was, getting a passport and a trust set up in Nevis for asset protection. This is how it first started, that I wanted one. Tell us about, from your perspective, and a lot of your high net worth clients, I know you take a group there, once a year to go see there. Why is that a benefit, and maybe tie in to different residencies at backup? And this applies to everybody around the world. So you want to talk about that?
Sure, three or four times a year, by the way. I actually know the guy who wrote the trust law down there, too. Do any of you know him? Hey. So I'm friends with the government. What's going on?
I don't know. You know this guy?
Yeah, I do. No.
No, you don't.
Who is that?
So, Laura.
No, okay, so one, protecting assets and trusts, I think, is an extremely important thing to do. Diversifying your holdings from a both geographic standpoint and for wealth protection. So if you ever get sued, I'm sure all of us have been involved in one lawsuit or another over our time. You turn the TV on now and you see 10 commercials for law firms. Have you been injured? Would you like to be injured? Can we tell you how to be injured? So
Your first funny joke.
yeah. So hey, so it's
9 no's, 1 yes.
yeah.
That's all that matters.
Doing your planning at the right time is very important. But you can lock up wealth if you do it at the right time and protect it so that no one can get at those assets if you're ever subject to a lawsuit. Talking about second citizenship and security, over the last few weeks, for me, this has become a lot more personal. Being Jewish and what's happening in the world, it's good to have other passports for security purposes. So the wealthy love to look into getting citizenship, and there's a whole market out there for citizenship by investment. And there's a number of different countries around the world that offer these types of products. St. Kitts Nevis is one of them. I'm a big proponent. It was the first country in this business many, many years ago. It's got a very strong passport, but there are other options out there where you can get EU passports and things like that. But one of the things that some of our clients do in today's world is think about getting the passport for security purposes, but at a certain point in time, it may make sense for them to do what's called expatriate. And why is that? Well, for tax purposes. It doesn't mean you can never come back to the United States, but what it means is you can sever your tax relationship with the United States, and if you do certain things, you stay out of the country for a certain number of days during the year. You sever your relationship for income tax purposes and for estate and gift tax purposes, and it can save significant dollars. When I put a sheet in front of someone and say just at a 6 or 7% return, if you pay tax on your assets for the rest of your life, or you don't pay tax and then you have no estate tax, we could be talking hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in many cases. So from a financial perspective, if you can structure your life in that particular way, a lot of our clients decide at a certain point to give up their citizenship. And it doesn't mean you're not American anymore. It just means Canadians that move from Canada to the United States, they're still Canadians. It just means you've given up your citizenship, because in the United States, unlike other places in the world, we tax you based on citizenship. You carry a U.S. passport, no matter where you live in this world, you're paying tax. You're paying tax while you're alive, and you're actually paying tax when you die. You could live in Europe, have not stepped foot in the United States for 40 or 50 years. If you own millions of dollars of real estate in the country where you live, let's say Switzerland, when you die, the United States will tax that.
How do they know that you own those assets in Switzerland and collect?
There's all sorts of ways that they through tax treaties, reporting requirements, yeah.
Is that a little bit, just hypothetically, right? I was born in Canada, I'm American now, American made me, right? And to be able, I thought about, Charlie said, if you renounce citizenship, you travel around the world. And then, there's also a debate, okay, now that I'm successful to the country that allowed me to come in, now I'm I don't want to be American anymore because I don't pay taxes. I feel like a moral obligation that's wrong. And so do people have that moral obligation?
Some people do. So just say, have your spouse keep her citizenship or his citizenship. No, again, it doesn't
But you'd be
mean,
subject to the money anyway, too.
yeah, well,
right?
what do you want to do with your wealth? There's, when you say moral obligation, our government does not spend money efficiently. There's so many interest groups that are and certainly doesn't spend money the way you want. If we did things the right way, we wouldn't have the debt problem that we have. We wouldn't have all the issues that we have and the incompetence that we have and all the problems that we have in this country. But we do. Your dollars, you can focus them in ways that here in the United States, very good. Even if you renounce your citizenship, you can focus those dollars in ways that you can have an impact that's much more powerful than just paying your taxes.
Two more questions. What's Skin May Investments?
Skin May. Oh, okay. Skin Mesh. There is a great.
Wow, I was so close yet so far.
This is terrific.
Am I doing it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. There's actually there's a whole bunch of biotech companies out there that have products that are waiting for FDA approval, and some of these products are very good. Some of these products are used in mainstream medicine today, but they're not available on the market. And one of these is this skin mesh. It's actually real skin, and burn centers love it, but it hasn't been approved by the FDA. And the company that makes it needs bridge financing. So there's a group that came in and said, okay, we can get you the bridge financing. What we're going to do is you're going to sell pallets of the skin mesh, okay? And it's in refrigerated areas, the pallets, and there's a group of partnerships that open up, and they allow you to put in a $100,000 investment. So you put in your $100,000. They close the partnership when they get $1 million of investment, okay? At the end of the year, so late December, there's a vote in that partnership that you can either hold the pallets, and if you get FDA approval, then your pallets are going to become much more valuable than the $100,000 you put in. But you could also decide to donate the pallets to the University of California, Los Angeles Burn Center, UCLA Burn Center, or other burn centers. And when you do that, and you don't know the other 10 people or the other 9 people that are involved, but strangely enough, most of these partnerships vote to give that away. When they value it, your $100,000 investment gives you a $500,000 charitable deduction, tax write-off. And then this is given.
I'm helping the birds.
Mm-hmm.
You're helping burns.
Wow.
Burn victims.
You're a good person.
I'm way funnier than you. You should let her say the jokes. All they said to me is, you put 100, you get 500 down to that. I didn't know it was for the birds.
Yeah,
This is great.
birds.
The fucking. I bet your people don't make you get into the bird thingy. Wow, that is really awesome. I'm so happy that. Who here likes birds? I do. God, if I actually told everyone what I'm actually doing, all the special, I'm in solar, I'm in bird, they would think I'm a Democrat. You know what I mean? Right?
That's the point.
I guess that's the point. I got to put that in my bio. God. 2 more questions. One of the last questions I ask you is, give us your best ninja strategy. This is your best strategy. And if you already said it, come up with another one. But I'm going to ask you another question before this. There's a lot of international people here who are just either saying, does this work in Australia? Does this work in Canada? How do I know about this and stuff like that? I know you guys work with a lot of, so what's the solution for those people? I know you guys know people from all over the world, right? So that usually, because there's a lot of the clients, let's say in Australia, they may invest in America, so they have to retain you, and then vice versa. You may, I'm all over the world, so if you guys don't, the law firms that could have the advantages, which sometimes are more advantageous than in America. So what's the solution for those people?
Tap into my global network when that happens. But I also tell you that's the one difference in my advice. Move to the United States. I mean, if you're in very high tax countries.
Yeah, but how does that happen? It's like, hey.
But before you move to the United States, you can, make sure that even if you're worth billions of dollars, you can make sure that you will never pay a dime or very little in estate and gift tax and generation skipping tax. You can remove your wealth for the next several millennia from the U.S. estate and gift tax system. And if you plan it in advance, we can bring your income tax rates down to 0 or effectively 5 or 10% for the rest of your lives.
Okay, but do you know other people around the world that, let's say they don't want to move to America, that you could set them up, or if they're not in the United States? Or...
I have Guido in Sicily. You know, no, no. I have a network of people all around the world, and
10 shitty jokes?
yeah, it's just one. Yeah.
I give you 2 points for the bird thing.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I have a network of professionals around the world.
and especially in the UK too. We have a lot of people in the UK
Yeah.
that make a lot. They're here and make a lot of money. And I think the best introduction is if you go to the top people. They work with other top people in other countries. They're just like, oh, here's an email. Here's who you should use, right? Liz?
Well, I think yesterday I got a call from a family in Mexico, and obviously they have certain rules there regarding, you withdraw money and invest in the U.S., you pay a pretty high penny. We're able to provide the bottom line financial structure where they can build their own banking relationships in Mexico and then take loans and put them into structures in the U.S. where they're not paying taxes. So the bottom line is, these structures work internationally, but you have to be upfront and kind of lay out the land for us so we know what countries we're dealing with. If I look like I have bags under my eyes, it's because I work about 20 hours a day in different time zones. I go across the world. It doesn't bother me, but I have to know where kind of the pieces of the puzzle is. So in my world, it's a very open and honest kind of conversation of where you are, where do you want to be, and what's your
A lot of
family
countries,
goal.
the income they make in other country is not taxable, as opposed to the United States. Like even if I moved to Dubai and got a golden visa, which I was offered it, $250,000 golden visa, 10 years because of my relationship with Munaf, I'd still have to pay taxes. And I saw a video on Instagram the other day, which kind of made me mad. Is like, why would you pay taxes? You have this structure, it's anonymous, and when all these things. And the guy's American, which pretty much admitted that he's committing, in essence, fraud, right? And at the end of the day, when you have a lot of money, it's really not worth to get caught, And also probably just the stress of having to deal with the criminal division of the IRS or whatever. It's not worth it. Like, what I mean? You get caught, by the way, somehow someone, and a lot of times it's like the Panama papers that were leaked, like it's not even inadvertently, someone got hacked,
Right.
The next thing you know, you're on a list, and that's called that's why there's a lot of billionaires, and I know many of them, they're not on the Forbes list, because that's the let's get audited every year list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? Every Yahoo soliciting me list, like they don't want to be on that list. And the people sometimes who want to be on the list are the people who pretend to be that. Right? So very clear. And also, anytime anyone Googles anybody's net worth, it's all bullshit. The only thing they would know is those who are, let's say, own X amount of shares of Amazon or Google, and it's disclosed. But usually, those assets, they don't know what they own. Like, for example, I assure you that Bezos and Gates are probably worth a lot more than they're worth. They just invested in their own family offices, which is not disclosed. That's just clickbait. I just want you to know. Like, there was one that says I'm only worth like 200 million, and one says I'm only worth 5 million. Like if you Google JT Foxx net worth, 5 million. Like, Rick, 5 million, right? Yeah, exactly. Rick has got too much of my money. So just want to be clear. Before I go over the last tip, actually we're going to do the last tip, and then you're going to give your info out. We'll start with you, Liz. What's your best tip for everybody here?
Plan today. Just, even if it's only you set aside 10 minutes a day, just start, because what you really need to do is engage the people to your plan. So just engage the people, but really focus. It's not something that you can leave until you're overly successful, because at that point you're mitigating some problems, right? There's just no way around it. So start the plan as early as you can in the process.
John?
I like what she said.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, no, the earlier you start, the better. I can think of, we watch the public, we watch things that are said in the news, and you're right. I mean, it's so far off. And you mentioned President Trump a little while ago, or former President Trump, whatever you want to call him. I remember in the news a lot of things that were inaccurate about both his income tax situation and
100%.
and his net worth. One of the things that was rolling around when he was running for president was, that he was left $200 million by his grandfather. He just put it in the bank. It would have been worth X dollars.
It's actually 20. George Ross confirmed. I was in that meeting with his dad. This is George Ross, who's still, 95 years old, be 97. I was in the meeting with his dad when Donald got 20 million. because I was the lawyer for the deal. So yeah, people just talk shit. They don't know nothing. Like, they just like to gossip.
Yeah, when you look at his net worth today, and it was somewhere around 1.7 billion at the time he was running for president, but if you look at the trust that he did for his kids, there was about $17.5 billion of wealth in there. So he did the right things, but the news was trying to crucify him, saying, "Oh, you couldn't, you didn't manage your money properly." Of course he did. He spread it out amongst his kids.
But what's happening in New York, where like they're saying like Palm Beach is only worth 18 billion, 18 million Mar-a-Lago, when clearly 2 plots down the road went for $1.50 for that. I mean, obviously for taxes, for assessment purposes, we want to be as low as possible. When we get loans, we want to make it look as high as possible. And when it comes to taxes, we don't make any money. But that's I think the fundamental problem with the Trump case in New York right now, which is a civil case, is that he repaid the loans. Like if you defaulted and you lied about that, it's like you told the bank, "I'm worth $5 million instead of like $2 million." They gave you the loan, you paid it back, no problem. So why, you know what I mean? And if that was the case, I think a lot of people would be sued right now.
I think every developer in New York City or every real estate investor is looking at that and saying this is beyond nuts, because everyone, uses that approach in their business, and I don't know, I'm not going to speak on the other cases that are out there and it's pending, but that case seems extraordinarily politically motivated.
But if you don't like Trump, you're like, yeah, he's screwing the system. And if you like Trump, you say it's bullshit. Like no one's changing their mind on that. And all elections are decided by the 10%, which is the independents, because no one changes their minds, right?
Yeah.
And it's a shit show. It really, really is. Big round of applause, everybody.
Great, thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.